Week than they will buying an $80,000 car. Why is that? We don't know. It's a psyche of renting vacation rentals. But it's good for us if you're doing it right. Okay? One of the things I say, if they see everything, they'll book faster and they'll pay more money. So you've got to have a Matterport. You've got to have great photos. Hotels. Looking for a hotel. I'm looking for a room. It's easier, right? Even I take a long time to look for hotels. I like doing that. I like searching for hotels, to be honest with you. And I like looking at the pictures and seeing the deal I get and where it's going to stay and stuff like that. So, but you can't compare the two. They're not comparing apple to apples. Much more difficult to find in a search. How do you take advantage of this phenomenon? Dynamic pricing, the answer, winning at the price is right. And when I say dynamic pricing, that means everything in pricing, really, to me. I mean, there's all kinds of pricing things that we're seeing up there to use, but all of those are tools, and length of stay is one tool. But I will tell you, every unit we have in our inventory is on a length of stay table. We have no flat rate pricing anywhere in our system. On our website, there are millions of combinations of rates. You cannot see a rate. We don't give you nightly rates on our website. We don't tell you what the rate is. And HomeAway copied me, I think, on that. Remember, you used to be able to see a rate. You see a rate chart. It's gone. I've been doing this for 15 years. The only way to get a rate is to put in dates. What has HomeAway gone to, Verbo? You got to put in dates to get a rate. Time is on your side. The more time you have to market the property, the greater chance of someone will book it at your price. I was just asking my guys, so are we still marking up bookings more than 365 days before they come? Are we still marking up 15%? Said, no, we went to 20, and then we went to 30. We're at 30% markup on bookings over a year away. I mean, it's crazy. What do they get? It's like an airplane. They get the unit they want that's open at the time they want, and for that choice, they're going to pay us more. Okay? Now, that's not length of stay. That's, I don't know what that's called. Yielding, okay. So time gives you more time to advertise it at a price, and it's just a numbers game. More people are going to see the product, and they're going to click the button and book it. It's a numbers game. Did I say that? Again, time, numbers game, distribution, more eyes. It's a percentage. X% are going to see it, like it, want it, buy it. Anyone can book peak season. When we take on new owners, we're exclusive. They say, well, I'll book the peak season. Well, of course you're going to book it at a third of the rate I'm going to get for it. Okay? Owners don't know nearly as much as you, don't have the data. But not everybody can book peak season at the highest price. You must have inventory to book at peak season. If you book it too soon, you've lost your potential revenue on that. We got a call this past year, and if I'm wrong on this, tell me. We have a Verbo rep, right? If you guys on Verbo, you have a rep. We got a call from a rep. They had a meeting, and they were worried about us. They're worried about teaming for March. Jeff, you have like nothing booked. And they were like, your price 40% more than the market. I'm going like, good. Okay? And they were worried because we do a lot of business with them. I mean, I don't know, 10, 12, $15 million a year. They were worried. They called us worried. Okay? We ended up filling up prime season at those rates, and we probably increased prices. Okay? But with Demand IQ, all these future tools we have to do demand and what it's going to be, we should be so great at this, to get more revenue. The internet has made pricing transparent. You can't fool the guest in slow season, right? If I've got units, they're not going to pay an exorbitant amount more than the next unit that's available right beside it when in slow season, right? But in busy season, we're available. We let the entire market fill up with the cheap people, and the cheap units and the snowbirds that want to pay the cheapest price in town and they don't care what it looks like. That we get the people that have limited time, that have money, that see it and book it. What is length of stay pricing? I have no idea what that means. But we're managing vacation rentals, not hotels. We work on a minimum price, not a minimum stay. This is what I think length of stay pricing means. There is one length of stay pricing that you should have on your entire book of business right now. Everybody should have. We're not hotels. We do a 3-night minimum price. Okay? We'll do a 2-night minimum stay, but the price for 2 nights is always the same price for 3 nights. How does the consumer know? Unless they go in and put 2 or 3 nights, they have no idea what they're paying. Okay? So that should be in everybody's. If you learned anything from here today, go back, set your system. If you have length of stay pricing, to a 3-night minimum price. So we have a different rate based on the length of stay and the arrival date. So that's why if you go to our site, if you look at, you put in 3, 4, 5 days. Sometimes of the year you'll put in 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 days. It will all be the same price. The shorter the stay, the higher the nightly rate. So we manage different types. I'm going to run fast here because time's slipping away. Many properties with minimum stay requirements. No minimum stay, monthly, semi-monthly, weekly, 5-night minimum, 3-night minimum. Off-beach, direct oceanfront, ocean view, and more. So we segmenting all our pricing in these different groups because they all act differently to the market. Daily units, all year, any day check-in, check-out, minimum stay 3 nights. They can stay for 2 nights, but the same price is free. Friday and Saturday nights, we have a base rate we use. Friday and Saturday nights are still going to be more. Once you set the base rate, your LOS is on top of that. Okay, so you're always looking at changing rates. You're always changing the base rate. So this is easy to manage once you set it up. It's really not that difficult. But it shows the price for 4 nights is $605 a night, and 7 nights is $504 a night. Okay, now this is a daily unit. We're trying to encourage longer stays. So we give a slight discount on a daily unit. The price for $12.80 a night, 12 nights, it goes down to $485 a night. Now, depending on the time of year, that discount changes based on the calendar. In slow season, we're going to give them a greater discount for staying longer, right? Because we want to encourage longer stays. So we're not going to have any gap days or any days to fill in or orphan dates, whatever they call them. Weekly units, peak season. This is a key. Weekly markets is Florida, the traditional Saturday to Saturday market. Any day check-in, check-out, minimum price 7 days. If you go to book one of our units in season, it's a weekly unit. 3, 4, 5 days, 6 days, you're gonna pay for a week. But any day check-in, where the market is Saturday to Saturday, any day check-in. Flexibility gets you visibility. I just made that up. I like that. I should put that in the slide. Flexibility gives you visibility. Boy, you should take that away from this too. That's pretty good. Non-peak season, the rest of the year, any day check-in, check-out, the minimum price changes. 3 to 7 days, right? Because we want to get that business in instead of the unit sitting empty. There's a weekly example. Price for 4 nights is $763 a night. There's a price for 7 nights, but look at the weekly price. 4 nights is $3,053, and a week is $3,080. Does the consumer know this? Most of them don't. They're looking at units, they're looking at pictures, they put in their dates. We're making them an offer, and we want them to click the button. We're giving them flexibility to come on Tuesday because the flights are cheaper on Tuesday, right? And we're getting more business at much higher nightly rates. Don't leave any money on the table. Get the entire stay value. Semi-monthly, I'm not going to go through all this stuff in detail, but I'm going to show you something on the next slide. The semi-monthly example, same thing. We have units we met that are 2-week minimum and monthly. Any day check-in, if they're a 2-week, we break up the year in 2-week windows and season. They're going to pay a 2-week price. And I remember early on, we had a unit that we owned in this complex, 2-week minimum. People were paying for 2 weeks and they stayed 5 nights. I mean, it was, and we go work, we don't live in our market, we'd go work over there and stay in our unit, okay? And then you have to do blockout days because you have the condo Nazi commandos, you know, and they even govern who comes in and comes out, and they have a security guard. We have now in this condo building armed security guards because these renters are coming in. I'm serious. Armed security guards. But we block out the dates so nobody else can rent within that 2-week window. If you get good at this, if you have minimum stay places, condos, if you get good at this, in this one building alone, we do over $2 million a year. Because we figured it out and nobody else has. Monthly units, same thing. They can come for 2 weeks. They're going to pay for a month in season. Now, out of season, we usually make it, they can come any amount of time. If it's less than, if it's 2 weeks and more, they're going to pay. We try to get about 75% of the monthly price because the unit's going to sit empty. Families don't come for a month in the summer or in the fall, okay? But we drive revenue. We can increase your revenue on a monthly unit by 30% by doing that. That is the monthly example. Here's the rate table. When you set up the rate table, you can see the dates. You see the surcharges that we surcharge those nightly stays. So the calculation is, if you're staying for 4 nights, that unit may have a, I can't see either, I'm old. Okay, 4 nights. You can see here, you know, 4 nights, if this time of year, it's going to have a 75% surcharge. So these are the tables we use based on this is how you get the surcharges to come up with a 3-night stay is the same as a week. That is length of stay pricing. Surcharges and discounts once you go over a certain point of time. Benefits, more revenue, more visibility. What did I say? Flexibility is visibility? That's okay. We kill the market and other listings at a complex because of Saturday on check-in. And go to the next slide, and I'll show you why. You know, Vrbo just took off the minimum stay from their little squares, the units. Did you guys know that? Minimum stay is no longer on the display for the unit. I had that done. It took like a year and a half. So here's an example. When you're looking, this is in a building that has a 2-week minimum. And this applies to 1 week, the same thing, whatever your minimum is. When I went and looked and searched for whatever dates this is, September 1st through 7th, all those units are ours. We're the only ones showing up. Why are we killing it? This is why. Nobody else has what we have. We have flexibility, right? We have a minimum 2-day stay, even though everybody else, the homeowners, the FBO, do-it-yourself people, whatever they had to put in 14 days because they don't have our pricing or length of stay pricing that we built. Okay? And Streamline built it. Selling point to get new units. And, you know, think about how many of you have true length of stay pricing integrated with Vrbo and Airbnb. Not only on our website, this goes to Vrbo for the length of stay pricing. And this is my blink, is I'm figuring we're doing $25 million this year. $8 million is attributed to length of stay pricing. That's the extra money. If you can increase your business by your pricing by 30%, it's a no-brainer. And this is just pricing. Okay? Again, I mentioned that base rate. Some of the disadvantages, you've got orphan dates that you have to manually change the rates on. You have to block out dates. We have a person that handles all the applications and block out dates. You have to do stuff like that. But when you're making that much more money, it all makes sense. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Maureen for probably more scientific details.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay. For those of you who aren't familiar with RevMax was created by Desiree Garcia and myself to be the revenue management division for Streamline VRS. So everything that we built, we first got to test on you guys that were the users. So one day, Jeff came to Carlos. Most of you might be familiar with Carlos. And he said, you know, I really need this tool. And Carlos said, I don't know. And he said, no, I really need this tool. So anyway, after much convincing, we got LOS pricing to be built inside RevMax. So that's the tool that Jeff gets to use. So he is the father of LOS pricing for RevMax. So I guess that makes you dad. Oh, my grandfather. Okay, great. So we're going to go on to the next slide. Okay, so we're just going to break this down a little bit. So what does this mean? So as an industry, we have determined the value we need for a stay by this formula. So minimum number of nights times your daily rate equals your stay value. So with length of stay pricing, go ahead. So with length of stay pricing, that formula becomes this. It becomes your daily rate times your length of stay pricing increase becomes your stay value goal, right? Because now we're working off of, instead of looking at it as we need to get 7 nights in order to get what we need for a week-long stay, now we don't need to get 7 nights for a week-long stay. We can get 4 nights, we can get 5 nights, we can get 6 nights, so long as the guest is still paying the same stay value. So like Jeff was saying, this is getting it in front of more people who are willing to pay the higher rates. And what's amazing about this is this makes your length of stay requirements completely obsolete. So this is kind of changing the entire way that we're looking at our pricing model. Okay? Great. So when you use length of stay pricing, everybody wins. So the guest wins. Go ahead. So the guest wins because the property is available to them, right? And so the owner wins because when more guests are coming to their properties, let's say you had a 7-night requirement for your property during the summertime, and you were able to sell 4 of those nights to one guest, well, that leaves you with 3 additional nights left over. Well, you can then turn around and sell those additional 3 nights to another guest, and you're getting the same stay value as you would get for 7 nights for each of those guests. So you're just multiplying your revenue a lot more. You're raising your revenue there, and you're getting that unit occupied during peak season by 2 stays. So what that does is that grows your database by double, right? So now you have double the people that are occupying that property, and you're building up that potential to remarket to those people later on for potential stays. Okay. So, and the property management company wins, of course, database growth, increasing your income, and reduce stress. So if you are now in an area where you're doing all of your turns primarily on the Saturdays or the Sundays, this is going to reduce the stress on your team because you're now having your check-in and check-out dates where those problems occur, you get those phone calls. They're now occurring midweek. Your housekeeping staff has decreased pressure because they're now doing some of their turns midweek. So that's really helpful on the operations side to be able to spread that out, and you're not losing anything as far as the income. Okay, go ahead. Okay, early adoption. So Jeff is an early adopter. So if by going into the marketplace as an early adopter to this, as he showed you, he was the only one listed when people were searching for 4-night stays, for 5-night stays. He's the only game in town. He's the only offering to that demand of guests that are looking to stay during that period of time. So he really can charge whatever he wants because there's all this demand and there's no supply. He's it. So he gets to price himself however he would like to and still receives the reservations. Okay? Okay, so you like it. All right. So now how do we do this? How do we calculate it? Okay, so how do you calculate your ideal stay value? You're already doing it. You're already calculating this. You have in your system a minimum length of stay. You have a daily price. So all you do is just say, okay, during the summertime, I know that my owner is going to want for a 7-night stay this value. That's your stay value goal. Everything else gets calculated off of there. Okay, what does my 6-night price need to be? 5-night price, 4-night price. And you can create other strategies in between there as well, right? You guys are so on it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so categorize your inventory. Not all of your inventory is going to want to follow the same strategy. So separate that out. You know, your 4 and 6 night or 4 and 6 bedroom properties, they may be ones that you're like, I know that owner's going to say 4 nights or more. They don't want something that's 3 nights or 2 nights. They just don't want a guest that's going to be there for 2 nights. That's fine. Segment them out. Your 1 and 3 bedrooms, I can do all the way down to 2 nights. Fine, segment them out. And then plug in the strategies for those individual segments of your inventory. Okay, next. Okay. So determine, this is what you're doing already with that. Go ahead. And then everybody wins. So the owners are getting more money. The potential is being built up for their property, the future potential, and the property management company is also seeing those increases. And that's it. That's it, yes.
When Scott was talking about this built into the software is built into Streamline, and have it outside like would be very, very complicated. And so, in Maureen is she was in on all this, building this, and she knows the back end and setting it up and all those details to help you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're happy to help you do that. Go ahead.
Questions?
I have a question regarding the property that would have a 30-day minimum or weekly requirement. When you say that you go in the back end and block it off, how is it that's being accomplished? Say they book it midnight and you don't have the ability to block it off while people are sleeping, and somebody books a week after that as well.
It's a manual process. The next day, as those reservations come in, we have one person on our staff. Her job is to look at all those reservations for this segment of units.
Right.
And she'll go in, like if they book the 3rd through the 21st, she would go block in on monthly units. We do it by the calendar month. She'd go block in the first 2 days and the rest of the days to the 31st.
Okay, but what if somebody happens to book?
We would just call them and say, hey,
Okay.
but that's for a monthly unit. They don't book fast. They're not, they're not like high volume like daily units and a lot of bookings. So
Okay.
That's not a problem for monthly units.
Okay, great.
Did somebody have a question over here? Oh, you're making me do my workout today.
So what do you recommend during the peak season if we set up minimum nights to help with housekeeping issues that are already spread out through Saturday through Sunday? So if we set up minimum nights for 4 nights already just to help out, spread that out, and then eliminate that down to 2-night stays, and then that would just cause more housekeeping issues kind of idea. Any ideas or suggestions for stuff like that?
So if it's difficult for you to find team members so on the weekends, if you're having most of your housekeeping turns peak out on Saturday and Sunday, you need a large staff. So if you're switching it so that you're creating where the checkouts can be any day of the week, you're going to be spreading that across, instead of 2 days, you're going to be spreading that across a 7-day period of time. So that actually makes it more manageable to have them spread out across that period of time. Now, I would say that if you have a housekeeping report that's going to show you how many turns you have in a day and you're getting pretty close to that number, you can always go into the system, and in RevMax, you can just put a close to arrival on that date, where you're allowing stay-throughs through that day, but you're not actually taking any additional arrivals or departures on that day. You can do close to departure as well.
I would never alter my schedule for cleaners, by the way. I would never try to change my income. Our cleaners are contractors, but if you do this, and like Marcine was saying, you're not going to. People are more. You'll find that you'll get reservations that are outside your normal parameters. That's going to help you on the scheduling.
I have a question back to the 30-day stays, because I do quite a bit of those as well, and I'm just wanting to clarify what you're doing. Are you in a condo situation where you can only have one guest per calendar month? Is that
correct? That's the condo docs determine. It's a monthly rental. There's a lot of those in Florida.
Okay.
And we don't target those. We don't mail those people to sign up for it. But if they drop in our lap, we're going to take them if it's a decent unit. But this is how we do it.
Okay. So
because we'll get people rent a week, and they'll rent December week and pay for the month. It happens. That's the main week we get rented on those monthly units, where they're just buying a week, but they're paying for the month.
Okay. So as long as you only have one, the Smiths only in December, even though they stay 2 nights.
One guest per month.
You're still good. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, quick question. If I'm interested in implementing LOS, can that be combined with any other pricing strategies? Like if I want to look at market-based pricing, if I want to use a comp set to determine pricing, or is LOS standalone?
Right, no, you can use it together. So the very first step would be for you to get your dynamic pricing, right? So that's your yielding, that's your market-based pricing, those tools. And then you plug in length of stay pricing into that strategy. So you already have established, that pricing tool is going to help to establish your daily rate. But then your stay value goal is, remember, what you would want to get as far as a nightly minimum times that daily rate. So then you would plug in your length of stay strategy based upon that.
Hi, so we're in a market in the Keys where it's a 7-night minimum. We can only legally advertise 7 nights. We were doing before what you were talking about, advertising 4, blocking out the 3, but we got fined. So now they're watching us. So we're struggling with requiring check-in and check-out days of the week. We know that we're going to lose visibility, but we also don't want 4 or 5 night gaps that we can't legally advertise. Any advice on that?
That is a tough situation. And was it the city, is it Muni Code that's had the advertisement in it?
Yes.
Okay, so say the city of Clearwater, same thing. For advertising is a protected form of free speech, but to fight the city, they got all the money in the world, right? For that, you can give flexibility, but you're going to have orphan dates, and you got to calculate whether you're going to win or lose in that situation. But ours, on our 7-day minimum, we did it. Panama City's a weekly market, and we tested this in Panama City. We took a segment of our units or did it, and they performed better by doing the length of stay, even with orphan days, because of the higher nightly rate we would get. But you have to test it. I would test it first before I went your full inventory. Take a few units and give them any day check-in, do the minimum price, and see how you come out.
You said you were blocking your units for the orphan nights.
No, for the nights we can't rent because of the minimum stay condo association documents.
Oh, strictly for the restrictions. Okay, that was my question.
We have weekly rentals, or if nobody cares, like we have one that the president of the association is our owner. They don't care. They don't enforce. If they don't enforce it, they don't enforce it. So we rent 3 or 4 nights. And we don't block those out or do, we just might have to change the orphan date pricing to get a marketable rate, depending on the time of the year. But we don't block it out unless there's a necessity from the owners, condo associations, stuff like that. And give me some feedback after this, if this was helpful, if you guys have heard this, done this, seen it, because I don't know what the market's doing out there, if anybody, is doing stuff like this. But this came about because of our markets in Florida are full of minimum stay properties. And that's how this came about.
I've been hearing a lot of feedback from owners. Have you guys gotten negative feedback, or I'm not really interested in that? It doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. Obviously owners should want to make more money, but any advice on that? Sort of educating your owners?
I've got an owner that we've been with us 5 years in a minimum stay building. There's a disagreement whether they have a minimum stay or not. They don't in the condo docs. Our attorney sent them a letter a couple of years ago. Well, now they say they're changing it to 7-day minimum, whatever. This is an owner who had 2 units, rented, he wasn't like all aggressive for the money and stuff, but he's just hired our attorney and paid $5,000 deposit to our attorney to fight this condo association. And I'm really surprised he did that. But I didn't think he'd be that gung-ho, but he's going after him. So you never know. If the owners are squeamish about not doing blockout days, then you just honor what they want to do. Because most of the owners, they want to be in a good relationship with the condo association. So if that's, you just say, no, we can do that, no problem. But the length of stay, they're going to win. And when they like the concept of what I say in my pitch deck, I'm going to show some of my pitch deck stuff on the slides. That I can give you $50,000 at 99% occupancy or $50,000 at 60%. Which one do you want? What's going to be their answer, right? You can keep going forward. Any other questions? I'm going to put some of my pitch deck sayings up there that I say when I sell to owners, and my kids and Gina has heard me say this over and over in the car because I save all my sales calls from driving in the car. Yes. You have a question?
No, I was just, you should mention just the explaining that they don't, like, I think owners will understand if you say, okay, you get that any guest can stay at the unit and then say, oh, and we're gonna go over to Disney for a night. Like, you can't physically make guests stay there. And when you explain it more like a minimum term as opposed to stay, so.
Well, and there's case law to support that too.
Yeah, so we have in our contract that says, condo associations have minimum stay. You're buying the whole week, you're buying the whole 2 weeks. We're scheduling your stay within that window. And so it's all documented in our contract with the guest. And these condos side they say, we're going to make your guest stay for 2 weeks or the entire month. I go, well, that's called kidnapping. Anybody else? Well, thanks. I hope you got something out of it. Feel free to come and ask any questions.